Hello, everybody, and welcome to our next round of expert interviews on Asia. My name is Volker Friedrich. I'm the founder and managing partner of GBP International, and I'm very happy that I have today with me Bernhard Schuette, the chairman and founder of Tapio Management Advisory Company, a company also in Malaysia. And welcome, Bernhard, to our interview round. And I'm very pleased to have you here. Bernhard is also in Malaysia more than 15, 18 years now, if I'm correct. And Bernhard is the chairman of Tapio. As I said, he's advising European companies on market entry. He's also members of companies and institutions as a board member and chairman. So welcome to our interview session, Bernhard, and good to have you with us.
Thank you, Volker. I'm honored.
Maybe as a start, you give our audience a short intro, why you ended up in Malaysia and why you choose Malaysia as a business location and what you do.
Yes, I was actually stationed in the USA. 16 years ago, I left Malaysia. I left the USA 16 years ago and came here permanent to Malaysia. Altogether, I've been 20 years working with Malaysia because the Malaysian government was my client in the USA. And then I actually came to Malaysia to retire. And when I arrived in Malaysia, I saw all the opportunities and I was getting bored to hell. So my retirement plans usually don't work out because I get bored very quick.
Yeah.
Workaholic similar to you, Volker. I think you'll probably also never retire officially. But working out of Malaysia is an amazing place. And not only working in Malaysia, but working in the whole ASEAN region and the RCEP region. So it's a great place to be.
Yeah.
So I've been here working now 16 years permanent.
Excellent. I think it's very valuable, especially for our companies or people listening here in Europe, because Malaysia, honestly speaking, is not so much on the radar of the typical company in Europe. And when they talk about Asia, firstly, they think of China, India, then ASEAN. Maybe from your point of view, what is so special about Malaysia and why does it stand out among all the other 10 ASEAN member countries?
Well, it depends what a company wants to do. I don't want to sound like I'm a salesman for Malaysia because Malaysia is not the answer to everything.
Yeah.
Definitely not. For companies that are looking for cheap labor, Malaysia is the wrong place to go. So this is not a cheap labor country. So when companies come to speak to us about the region, we have a look, what are they doing? What is the industry they're getting into? And most of the people, as you said, and you're absolutely right, when they think of Asia, they don't think of Malaysia at all. They think of China, India. These are the two mega nations, the two big powerhouses. But Malaysia's strategic position is absolutely amazing because if you think from Malaysia, from Kuala Lumpur, if you fly within a 5 hours radius, you can reach a population of over 4 billion people in a 5 hour radius. Now, if you compare that to, say, Frankfurt, if you fly a 5 hour radius, you can reach maybe 600 million people, not even a billion.
Yeah.
So this is the advantage working out of Malaysia. And as I mentioned, it's not a cheap labor country. So I think it's very important that people understand that Malaysia is not the answer to everything. And most people, when they look at Malaysia, say, oh, 32 million people in Malaysia. What do I want to do there? It's not a market for us. It's too small. Usually they are right if that's the way you're looking at it. If you're looking for a country just for one country market, Malaysia is probably not the right market for you either. It depends, again, what you want to do.
Yeah.
But when it comes to high quality, high level technology companies, Malaysia is definitely one of the answers. So now for the high quality, high technology companies, say for the computer chip industry, there's basically two places to go, to Taiwan or to go to Malaysia. Now, if you have a look at Taiwan with the geopolitical situation, it's could be a good place to go to if everything works out peacefully.
Yeah.
But they've been poked all the time. Who knows what's going to happen there? It could be that it lands up being a huge disaster, and it could be that it lands up being fantastic and everything gets united and put together.
Yeah.
Malaysia is second in the chip industry, and they're huge. They're number 2 after Taiwan. If you have a look at even, if you have a look, for example, one of the biggest chip manufacturers in Germany, Infineon, is bigger in Malaysia than what it is in Germany.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
a lot of people don't realize that some German companies coming here actually land up being bigger in Malaysia because of the location and the educated workforce to run companies like that here.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you are perfectly right, and I can only agree with you what you say. Maybe I'd like to dive into the topic a little bit deeper. And those of us who have been following Malaysia, we noticed and we welcomed a huge delegation earlier this year. And you were part of the Malaysian delegation when the Prime Minister visited Germany with 3 ministers and a big business delegation. And it was, let's say, a big hoo-ha. And it was in the media portrayed as very successful. There were a lot of memorandums of understanding signed. Infineon announced a large investment over the next 10 years. But on the other side, if I follow up afterwards, we see basically no real traction. You know, we have seen the signing of the MOUs. And then if I play the devil's advocate a little bit, Malaysia joins or applies to join the BRICS nations, which is not, let's say, in line with what we would like to see where Malaysia is heading politically. So we can see that the big elephant in the room, even in the German-Malaysian relation, is always China. And Malaysia traditionally is also a good friend of China, and for good reason. And Malaysia is not willing to take sides, which I understand. So how do you read these activities on the political front with China being a central figure or central nation in these relationships of nations?
Well, that's a very good question and an important question. And I think people need to dig a little bit deeper. As you said, Malaysia is pretty much a neutral country. Why should they have to choose the West or the East? Why can't they choose both? So it's not like Malaysia says, oh, we're going BRICS and now we're not talking to the West anymore. That's not the case at all.
Yeah.
So if you, it's the same thing, India belongs to BRICS, South Africa belongs to BRICS. That doesn't mean they don't deal with the West anymore, but the West seems to have this phobia at the moment. Oh, if someone joining BRICS, we're going to lose them as our partners. That's not the case at all.
Yeah, I think that is, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
So I find the West has got to get away from the American way of thinking. You are my friend or you're not my friend. That's not the case at all. We can be friends with everybody. And this is something that I really like in Malaysia, which some of the West people don't understand. It's nicer to be friends with everybody than create enemies. Why should we create enemies? So in a country like Malaysia, if they say, okay, we're going to be joining the BRICS, and you need to understand this as well, because the future is without a doubt Asia, whether we like it or not. I'm European, just like you are European, and I'm a German citizen, and I really am pro-German and everything, but I'm also pro-Asia. I can be pro both sides.
Yeah.
So we need to learn to be a little bit more neutral and work with each other. And this is actually a positive thing, and I'll tell you why. Now, if Malaysia joins BRICS, sometimes every deal that you do at the moment in the West has to be paid with American dollars. So the Americans get a cut on every single deal that you do.
Yeah.
Now, when you're in Malaysia and you're dealing with India, or you're dealing with China, now we can deal in their currency as well. So it's actually cheaper for us. And for any company that comes in, works out of Asia and works out of Malaysia, can deal with multiple currencies and is not compelled to only use the dollar and make things more expensive for them. So I see this as an advantage, not as a disadvantage.
Yeah. I think this is let's say, the big controversial discussion we are seeing now. I mean, we also, all of us, we had the last, let's say, 30, 40 years of globalization. Everybody benefited, everybody grew, everybody was kind of happy. We made new friends, we traveled wherever. And now I think, even for me, I have to admit, I find it very hard to accept that this time is over and that we are now having a new confrontation, like you say, between East and West, and we have to take sides, and exactly like you say, why? So this is a very difficult discussion to have. And I hope, as most of the friends I know, that this kind of nightmare is going to end. But to be realistic, not anytime soon. So we really have to work on the micro level, company to company, person to person, individual to individual, to stay friends and be cooperative and successful together.
Yeah, as you mentioned, we are so conditioned, if I can use the word, that living in the West, and also being so conditioned that we got to choose A or B. I don't understand that at all, because I used to think like that too. I used to think as well, so many people say, oh, China is a very dangerous country, or India is a very dangerous country. America isn't. So where is China dangerous?
Yeah.
Who did they threaten?
Yeah.
So who did the Americans threaten?
Yeah.
Who did India threaten? So these are now the geopolitical situation. We're not in the politics business. We in the business of doing business.
Yeah.
So we should not allow ourselves to be brainwashed by politicians who are trying to get their agenda through, and we should be focusing on, why can we not be friends with everybody? What is the situation? And I think that's what we business people all got to have a look at. I don't care if I have visitors from China or from USA or from Germany or from the Netherlands. I treat all of them the same.
Yeah.
And if somebody wants to deal with me in euro, or they want to deal with me in Chinese yuan or in dollar, I'll work with all of them, but I'm going to have, look, what's the best deal for me, and what's the best deal for where I am in my country, where I can work with the best. That's, everybody should start thinking like that.
Yeah, and I think you describe it perfectly well. And this is also in the, let's say, in the Asian DNA, if I like to say so, the yin and the yang. You have to work with all sides and keep things in balance. And that is what the Asian culture is all about. And you described it perfectly well. But Bernhard, I'd like to cut short a little bit the political side of our discussion, because, as you say, we are business people and not politicians. But of course, these days you cannot ignore the political discussion. It plays a role naturally. I'd like to take a new chapter in our interview here, and I would like to request you to tell our audience a little bit about a recent case study where you have been operational in setting up a new industry in Malaysia, which was basically non-existent. And with the help of your guys and your team, you managed to bring the recreational vehicle industry into Malaysia. And I think I have been following that from our discussions over the last probably 2-3 years since it started. Maybe you can describe this project a little bit for our audience, and also focus on the lessons learned. What would you do differently today with the knowledge you have now?
I actually wouldn't do anything different than what we have done now. The great thing is working together with Germany or the West, doesn't matter, any European country, even American companies coming into Malaysia. There is so many opportunities, like we just spoke about the recreational vehicle. When you come to Malaysia, if you came here 3 years ago, it was not possible to get into this business at all, because there wasn't even a rule and a regulation for this industry. Not only in Malaysia, in most of Asia. If you can imagine, the way I got into this business was over just in the beginning of COVID time. You couldn't go to any hotels, you couldn't travel. And then I said, well, I'd like to have a caravan because I know what it is in Europe or in South Africa or in USA, caravan or motorhome. And I found out that there was not one dealer in the whole ASEAN region at all. And then I found out that some people were importing them used vehicles from the UK or from Japan because you have the steering on the right-hand side. So they were imported from there. And when they brought the vehicles into the country, you couldn't even register it because there wasn't even a category for a caravan.
Yeah.
There wasn't even a category for a motorhome. So I thought, wow, this is a big opportunity. Everybody said to me, you insane. This is going to take you 100 years to get these legalized, because people were bringing in caravans because they couldn't register it. So they registered as a horse trailer.
Okay.
Or they registered a motorhome as an ambulance, because there was a category for ambulance and for horse trailer, but not for a caravan or a motorhome. So we worked together with the Ministry of Transportation, with JPJ, that's like in charge of all the vehicles in the country. And we also worked very close with the German government, which is good because we have good relationships on the German government side, also in the industry side, and then good relationships in Malaysia for the government and the industry side. And we worked on creating the rules for Malaysia. Now, the big advantage is bringing this industry so late into Malaysia is that we could learn from all the mistakes they did in Germany or the UK or in the Netherlands, because when they go into a new industry, this is an industry 60, 70 years old in Germany. So we could learn from all their mistakes. So when we made the new rules and regulations working together with the two governments, that they are much better. So sometimes a latecomer has a better opportunity. So then we had all the rules and regulations done within 9 months, which everybody said this is incredible, because it usually takes 3 to 5 years to get rules and regulations like this done. So when you have new rules and regulations to be done and know the right people, it's actually easier to do when there's already rules and regulations and you want to change them, because then you have all kind of industries lobbying against you. So this was a big advantage of a latecomer industry coming in here. So also the big problem was, even if you bought a caravan or motorhome, you couldn't finance it because the banks had no rules and regulation for the financing, because these cars didn't exist. You couldn't insure them. So you had this whole industry running in the dark. Now all of a sudden all the rules and regulations are there, so it's been a very difficult time to get all these things done, but now it's absolutely running perfect.
So you are basically saying you started basically from even not zero, but below zero. So a virgin's jungle for this particular market.
Yes, I'm actually 25 years of age, and after all this frustration, I look like 70, you know.
Okay, but sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but this was more, let's say, on the regulatory side to get basically the legal foundations into place.
Yes.
I'm more interested to look at it, let's say, from a company, from a corporate side, from the German side. Why are they now better off in Malaysia than before? What do they do? Are they selling or renting out their caravans already, or are they producing them? What is the state as per today?
Well, again, a very good question. And again, why choosing Malaysia to come here? There's only 32 million people in Malaysia, a very small market. But we are the center in ASEAN and the RCEP region. Out of Malaysia, we're working together with 2 manufacturers coming into Malaysia, and they're not only going to be selling in Malaysia, they're going to be selling in the whole ASEAN region, which is, of course, Thailand, Indonesia, Laos, Cambodia. This is the whole region, plus Australia, New Zealand, plus Japan, China, Korea. So coming into Malaysia is this this hub of this massive market that a lot of Europeans don't realize. So if you only looked at coming into a country with 32 million people, this would be the wrong country to go to. Then you probably rather go to China.
Yeah.
But if you go to China, then you have the geopolitical situation where a lot of countries are not allowed to buy from you anymore because you're producing in China. So this is the good thing about working out of Malaysia. And also, if you have a look at the Australian and New Zealand market, with the RCEP region, we have tax-free agreements with this whole area. So we can produce caravans and motorhomes and sell them to Australia tax-free.
Yeah.
If you send them from Germany, you're talking about 35–40% tax duty coming on the vehicles.
Yeah, obviously that is one of the, let's say, the important success factors of being in Malaysia. You are having the, let's say, the regional hub concept. And that, of course, is interesting for any manufacturer who is using one site for production and serving the whole, as you say, ASEAN plus RCEP market. That's definitely a smart strategy to follow. Again, I don't want to let you go with looking on the, let's say, on the company side again, even if you say, okay, everything is in place, this is a strategy. So what does the company have to do in terms of, do they need to send over their engineers, their staff, their tools and their machines? What is required in terms of commitment from the companies after you have given them, let's say, the master plan, which you have described in brief earlier? Because things are not happening by themselves, and not your people are not able to produce, actually.
Yes, of course. Now, of course, if you start off manufacturing in an industry like this, you're talking about millions and millions of investment into Malaysia.
Right.
And it's not like you come in and you build a factory and everything's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's very similar to the automobile industry. If you need to set up dealerships, you need to train the dealerships, you need to have sales people trained, you need to have service networks. So if the vehicle breaks down, you don't want the people to say, well, I bought a vehicle and there's no service.
You can't tell them call Germany. Yeah?
Exactly. And then also, even when you training the dealers and the dealerships and that, you cannot send everyone every time to Germany to train the people.
Yeah.
So we have contracted out and made deals with Malaysian universities. And also with, I'm sure you're aware of the German Malaysian Institute, for example, was Mara, one of the biggest universities in Malaysia. So they send their people to Germany to do training in Germany and then come back to Malaysia and train the people locally here in Malaysia. So we're looking at this as a long term. So if you're going to do this in the right way, you need to train people in Germany, because Germany doesn't have enough labor to send people here either.
Very true. Yeah, one of the big bottlenecks these days. But
Exactly.
you describe it perfectly well, and this is also our message to any potential investor or partner who wants to embark into Asia. There is nothing happening short term, and you described all the milestones, and this looks like a 3 to 5 year project until you are really able to get the fruits of your investments. And therefore, you need stamina, endurance. Sometimes there is a problem you need to circumvent. So things really do take time, and it is always good to have somebody like yourself and your team as a partner to solve all these problems. Yeah.
Well, that's the whole thing. I'm sure where you understand as well. If a company comes here, they really need someone to guide them properly, because if you just want to come here on a quick shot and think they're going to make money in overnight, it doesn't work with the on the long term. So it needs to be planned properly, and you need to have people locally here in Malaysia and locally in Germany working together that understand both cultures. If you don't have that togetherness, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, and they need to have, as we say, a long-term commitment to this project, and otherwise
Absolutely.
it will fail in the long run. Anyway, Bernhard, we are coming to the end of our discussion. I really enjoyed always talking with you. It's always very deep and insightful. And I would like to thank you for your time and for sharing all this information. Hope to see you soon again in Kuala Lumpur or in Germany when you are traveling again. And with this, I'd like to close the session and thank you very much again. Any questions, you are welcome to put in the comments or contact us directly. Thanks, Bernhard.
I'm very, very honored to be interviewed by you, Volker, as being a leader in Germany, Asian business. So you probably understand it better than anyone else.
Thank you for the flowers, Bernhard. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.